Hello there everyone, welcome back to another video about a children's trading card game. Strap in, grab some snacks. I definitely recommend getting some water because this is going to be a long one. It's the first in 5 videos reviewing all the cards in Gate Ruler's second set and third and fourth starter decks, trial decks, whatever you want to call them. I've got some lube for my throat because Lord knows it's going to be sore after this.
Phrasing.
Let's get started, and we're going to be beginning with Atlas. By the way, if you like what you see, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. If you want to pick up Gate Ruler, use my affiliate link in the description. Game's launching in 2 weeks, guys. Get your pre-orders in and support the channel with my link. Anyway, let's get started. I shall move over because I'm going to do the high effort thing and edit in the cards. Wow. There we go. Let's get started with the legend, Megatherion. This is a dragon beast, 7/5/3. During the attack of this, your opponent cannot use set cards, and it has breakthrough. Very interesting card here. Essentially impossible to stop it dealing its damage if they don't have some form of like burn or removal to use before this, which makes it very good. The problem is it's fairly limited use. The decks that sort of want to play this over Win-Win or Captain Liberty or whatever the other options you have available to you are basically non-existent. I think this is probably best in, like, I suppose, a beast deck. The problem is, like, it doesn't really have a place at the moment where you go, yes, it's really good here. It's a very strong card, don't get me wrong. Like, it's basically guaranteed 3 damage, and it's 7 attack, so it's basically hitting through everything outside of a Cthulhu, and it's 5 HP, so it's not exactly easy to remove. And remember, that's 5 HP in a faction which gives you access to things like, I didn't even feel that, so it's like being 10 HP, for example, or, 6 or 7, but anyway. So, very, very annoying to deal with, very powerful legend. I just think it sort of lacks a place at the moment. And because of that, it's a lot less good. This is, I imagine, this is one of the cheaper legends in Japan. Next, we've got Helldiver Red Crusher. So this is the Wild Force 4-star. I'm going to stop reading out all the effects, actually, because we'll be here all day. I'm just going to give you my impressions. This card is nuts. Super, super strong. Being a dragon is cute. Not super relevant at the moment. The main traits are military and wild force. Very nice military synergies here. Lets you do some cool things. More important is the wild force synergy, and being able to return your wild force counters to the one of your deck is very, very nice. The touchdown is very powerful. Stack a few guns and gold armories up, and it's gonna be a bit mad. Yeah, this card is very, very strong. Absolute staple in wild force decks. And arguably even outside, the touchdown is really good, guys. Like, really, really good. Alice of the Decisive War World. This pains me. This pains me, guys. This card's great. This deck sucks. This is the new Darkness. The deck that seems so good on paper. It seems like it just seems so crazy on paper, but in practice, it is just not that good. Oh, that sucks. This card is going to be the absolute linchpin of that deck, and I imagine, much like Darkness come set 3, so Darkness, basically, history lesson for those of you who didn't really know, or will be seeing, certainly, in the set 1 format, as that develops in English. Darkness is not very strong in set 1. It's quite weak. I would say it's one of the worst decks, honestly. The worst, like, obvious you can build this. And I would say Alice is kind of the same. It's not as good as you would think. Despite it on paper seeming like it has so many tools, it's just missing a lot of things. Primarily just A7 stuff. So essentially it just needs another wave of support, and we know it's going to get that in set 3, so presumably, much like Darkness shot from the bottom to very, very respectable, I would argue top tier in set 2, I imagine Alice is going to shoot from the bottom to very, very respectable. I would hope set 1 at tier 1 in set 3, rather. Words are difficult. But yeah, at the moment, strong card, pretty crap deck. You probably want to wait before picking these up, I would say, because they're going to be expensive on release, just because one, it's an Alice, and for some reason that will make it always expensive, especially here where we have lots of Force of Will players. And two, waifu tax. Even though she's 13, guys, just letting you know, not appropriate, but people do be people. So there we go. Anyway, next. Demon of Deserts, Pazuzu. This is an Owl Beast Wizard, 5/2/2. And the effect is kind of, I don't know, I'm not a massive fan of this. Like, it's nice. It feels much nicer in Wizard, where you are always going to be able to, like, let this hang around. But I just don't think it's that good. I'm not going to lie. Yeah. Not a massive fan. Again, it's sort of lacking a place at the moment, though it will not surprise me to see this be really, really strong in set 3. Owl got a really nice boost, so potentially we'll see some wizard-based Owl shenanigans become relevant there. I suppose if Owl Darkness got more support, because you can discard this for Dark Mother, maybe? I don't know. We'll see. But at the moment, I don't think it's particularly good. The final 4-star Atlas Air Force Major Velma. I thought this card was going to be format changing, and it really hasn't been. It's a good card, certainly, but the problem with it is a lot of the time, a lot of strong abilities your opponent's using are just not touchdown or overdrive. This is a card that, if you turn off, if you do this in response to a Gashadokuro or like a Malevolous Prime, that's going to be really good. But the odds of that actually happening in the set 2 meta are quite slim. So this is a hand trap, essentially, that they released that at the moment is not particularly useful. That being said, going into the future, this is 100% a card I want to own 4 of, because there's no way it won't be relevant at some point. The moment a deck comes into the format that's very strong and abuses either lots of touchdown or lots of overdrive abilities, this is a staple. And even I like high hands, and even now you want to run it because you can just hold it in hand until your opponent hits a really important touchdown or overdrive that you can just go, and then that can probably swing the game. It's just not as strong as I expect it to be, though it is still very strong. A7 Terminator Jabberwock. This is a really, really strong card in Alice, and it's totally unplayable outside of that. Trobirit's Valerie. So this is a really, really cool card. So a different touchdown and overdrive effect, depending on how you use it. And this has been a key piece of a very fun red-blue Apprentice deck. Though I do also think it's got very strong potential in Knight. I just think that the touchdown currently is less valuable, or in energy-based decks rather, in hand decks. At the moment, I think it's a bit less valuable there. It's certainly a much less powerful ability, which makes sense because you can choose when to use it. Whereas with the overdrive, you can't. This is a really, really good card though, and I highly recommend people look into that red-blue deck. I made a video. It's covered in one of the What's Winning videos, the most recent one at the time of this recording. Go onto the channel, have a look, or I will, if I remember, I'll put a card up here leading to it. But yeah, this is a very, very solid card. Oath from Childhood, another card that is sort of seems good on paper but hasn't been spectacular. The issue is essentially you like neither Wizard. Wizard seems to have relatively few viable builds currently, and those that are viable don't really value this. They don't really care too much about it, and Berserker really doesn't value playing Atlas at all. So this is one of those cards that it's going to be good to own. Its potential in the future is there, but at the moment is not super good. So a pretty meh card currently, but with strong future potential. The Secret Weapon, again, another card with very, very niche use at the moment, but a card that will scale excellently into the future as we get better and better counters. It's a card you kind of need to choose the deck very carefully that you put this in. The counters all need to do something like really impactful. for this to be worth it. Of course, if we ever got a hand deck that drove or something, or I don't know, a hand deck that didn't pay costs, wink wink, nudge nudge, hold on a little bit, we'll talk about that. Then this could be very, very interesting. So yeah, not super strong at the moment. Has some niche utilities, very nice in some decks, but broad utility, very limited at the moment. Heavily Armed Victor. This is a really, really strong card. I slept on this when it was first revealed. This is very, very strong. It's a 4/5/2, so good stats. Military traded, which is nice. This is a key part of that Valerie strategy. On the attack, it burns 3 to a unit, but most importantly, it reduces effect damage. There's not many ways to just hard remove something like this. So if you can just protect it, like keep it around, use things like I didn't even feel that or something. This is going to be a card that's going to hang around for a while. Get a few Guns and Gold Armory set up. Oh baby, you got a stew going. This card would be really, really good. Next, we've got First Class Daring Rhino. So this is, again, a very limited utility card, but in the deck's essentially pink-blue firepower, it's essential. This is really, really strong in that deck, and it just makes your opponent's life a living hell. Because you typically, if you got a couple Guns and Gold set up, you just add it back. You set like your 0-cost firepower or your 1-cost firepower that like burns 3 or burns 2 normally. Reverse that order. You get what I mean. And you buff it up with a couple Guns and Gold Armory, and your opponent is going to be having a bad time. Combined with pretty reasonable clearing power in 4 attack, this is a very useful card with excellent traits. So yeah, really, really solid card. In that current build, I think, again, it's one of those with fantastic future potential because it just adds firepower events. So the more firepower events we get, the better this card gets. Dark Lord Levin. This is, as I think I said on its original reveal, this is one of the best cards in the set in my opinion. I've obviously cooled down a bit. That was a bit hyperbolic, but it's really, really good. Absolute staple in Owl. Absolute staple in Darkness. Military trait matters a bit less, but you know it's really, really, really good. Yeah, big fan. One thing I will say that's quite nice is the flavor text hints at a hand that doesn't play cost ruler in set 3. So, interesting. We'll keep in mind on that. But yeah, this is a phenomenal card. Very, very, very strong. Next, we've got Unexplored Power Jake. So this is a very interesting one. I think so. I talked about potentially using this in Darkness. I haven't been at the moment, though I think that potential is still there in a Dark Mother focused build, because again, being Wizard trait will let you abuse Dark Mother. It's very, very like powerful in terms of it's got 2 strike, it's got reasonable stats. It mills if you want it to, or it gives you charges that you can use for other things. At the moment, that utility is very niche, essentially just X-Vader or Darkness for mill. But you know, Warrior Wizard, such versatile traits that moving into the future, I don't see a way that this card isn't going to be relevant. I think this is like one to keep an eye on, just because it has a lot of bits that are really nice and just no place to fit in at the moment. I think that's a trend. You're probably going to hear me say that a lot, and it's true for set 1 as well. There's a lot of things where you go, oh, this is okay, but it doesn't really have a place at the moment. And set 2 gave a lot of those cards a place, and I think we're going to see the same in set 3. Where like things just fit in really nicely and suddenly they have these really great places and decks become so good, and yeah, a card to keep an eye on. Next, we've got Go Wild Force Go. So the counter here is quite nice. The problem, of course, being you do not get the touchdown abilities on the Wild Force you special summon, and it is to an attack zone. So yes, it is like a free thing. Like, yeah, you're getting a free body to board that your opponent may not be able to deal with at the time. And can be really nice if you don't really care about the touchdown. Like, for example, if you just special a Big Owl down, that's a 5 HP body in an attack zone, your opponent's probably not going to go after it, and it's going to be set up for your next turn where you can use it however you want, which is obviously really nice. But more importantly is the actual effect here, which is checking top 4, special summoning a Wild Force, and then using the touchdown. That's really good. Now, this isn't a card you want to run at super high counts because it is RNGE, but it's really nice. And if you can, you know, if you can do something like get a red or a Hellkong off of it. Like it's so good. And remember, this is something you can, and it's a card with counter, so you can put it back with Red Diver. So it's also very valuable for that, and the artwork's amazing. I think it's the main thing. But yeah, really solid. Next, we've got Apocalypse. This is a very strong card, and I think on my initial reveal, I didn't realize that it also doubled attack damage. It doubles all damage to enemy units, not just burn damage. And for that, like, this is really good. The counter to set it means you're always going to have access to it, and being able to just double damage is really good. Like, you are increasing your clearing power so much by using this card. Boards, you can clear any board with an Apocalypse, essentially. So, like, this is a card I think is being really slept on. I'm not seeing people talking about it. It's really good. And I think we'll see some red-blue decks popping up soon that are going to abuse this, because red-blue's always just strong. Just very good value. And I think we're going to see Apocalypse in those lists, because it's a very strong card. Next, we've got Golem Keeper Gerson. This was a promo way back in the day. I think I spoke about it in my first set review, but I'm just mentioning it here. Not very good. Armed Unit Volcanius. So this is touchdown to burn 2 to an enemy unit. Again, really not a massive fan of this. I get the utility to just do the burn on entry, which can be really good. But I'm choosing Victor over this pretty much every time at the moment, though I can see in the future that could change, but at the moment I think it's just a worse Victor. Minister Secretary Hayes. I've really seen no need for this card at the moment, though again I'm sure we will see some sort of Owl Darkness build really come into its own, potentially set 3, potentially now. That is going to make this a lot better. But at the moment, I'm having no real issues getting out of Viola, which is the only thing that really needs this restriction to play with the levels. So, at the moment, I've had absolutely no trouble with that. So I don't really think this card is super good at the moment. Potential for the future, really nice HP stat, but at the moment, no real use. Third Sergeant Iron Bull. This is really nice. The ability to just at any time, 1 energy, doing some burn. It's 4 HP. This card is really strong, and of course the second you get a gun and gold armory or 2 set up, oh baby, this thing gets real good real fast. And of course, fantastic traits. Very strong card. Wizard of Skyscrapers, absolute staple in Darkness. In my opinion, this is one of the reasons that Darkness has shot up in playability. Super good card, super useful, 4 HP, very important. Wizard, so you can use it with Dark Mother as well, though personally I'm not a fan of the Dark Mother. And, you know, it's a level 1 Abyss Summoner that is very difficult to just remove for your opponent. So, big. Hungry Dumpty, absolute staple in the Alice deck. Pretty useless outside of that. There are some Awakened Beings that it's quite nice in, but, you know, that's whatever. Staple and Alice, kind of useless outside that. Same deal with A7 Mad Hatter. Amazing in Alice, pretty useless outside that. Because these are cards that are taking a big hit for that A7 attribute, the big hit in the stats. So I think we'll see them sort of come into their own in the future, but not at the moment. Next we've got Hellkite. This is a level 0 2/1/1, so this is essentially a military version of Monster Wolverine. This is very nice. The problem is, unlike Monster Wolverine, it only goes to an attack zone, which essentially takes all the good parts of Monster Wolverine and goes, let's add 1 extra attack and then make it totally useless. So that's not ideal. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of this card. Next, we've got Demolition Salamander. This is a really solid card. When it deals damage to the opponent, you can pop a set for 1 energy. Really nice. Your opponent's not always going to be able to deal with this. And this is going to be something that can potentially, just screw with them. On a level 0, it's a very nice skill. Good traits. Yeah, very solid card. I think people should be experimenting with how many sets there are in the format right now. Really nice. Next, we've got Fairy. This is a total staple in Owl and kind of useless outside of that at the moment. Next, we've got Defense Battle at Cyprus Base. This is a really, really strong counter that I do believe is being slept on to set all damage to 1 for the turn, 1, obviously 0, 0, is really, really, really good. Yes, you have to pay at the start of the opponent's attack phase, and it is susceptible to things like Dispel, which is continues to be a very, very powerful tool. But outside of that, so good. I'm not seeing people play this, and I don't really know why. It's a really, really strong card that has been really useful in my testing. Next, we've got Burst Mode. So this is level 0. The counter is to play it. You choose one enemy unit, deal damage to it equal to the number of Burst Mode in your graveyard plus 1. So it scales really well going into the late game. It's a firepower, which is nice. But it's a counter, and let me tell you, you ain't got the counter space to play this guy. So, not worth playing at all, in my opinion. As nice as it can be to just, get another way to do burn and to be able to salvage it with Rhino, it's just not worth the counter space, in my opinion. Next, we have got Guns and Gold. I can't read it because... don't worry about it. The counter on this is choose an enemy unit and deal 3 damage to it. It's a level 2 4/4/2. So it's vanilla level 1 stats, but you add a level for a counter that's I'd rather play like Alcon or something. So yeah, not a big fan of this card at all. By the way, we're moving into the starter deck now. Zombie Rider. This is an absolute staple in zombies. Very important for the deck, having the aggro potential that it does. Super, super good card. Zombie Caesar, another really, really nice card in zombies. Having Charge Shield can make this pretty sticky, pretty annoying to deal with. And being able to put any charge to the bottom to buff up its strike is quite nice. But the sort of main thing is it's 7 attack, so it's going to give you that clearing power that you need to deal with some of these big walls. For example, Flying Spaghetti Monster, which is very, very, very relevant in the format. Next, we've got Captain Craig. This is another very, very powerful card because you can stack your deck with anything you want. It is a bit restrictive, so you really can only use this in a almost pure military deck. But in that deck, it's really good. It kind of slots into Wild Force fairly nicely if you want. And being able to just stack a powerful counter like a Buster Arm is really, really nice. Vanilla Zombie. There's not many zombies, so you kind of play this because it's a good zombie. Same kind of deal with Zombie Soldier if you need the clearing power. It's solid. Bearing in mind you're able to buff these stats up on these zombies quite a lot, which is quite good. I will go into a lot more detail on this starter deck in the starter deck specific review, but this is just the whole set review, so I'm sort of just giving my main impressions, and I'll go more into detail on the synergies and stuff in that review. Next, we've got a Young Security Officer. You look at the top card of your deck. If it's a military, you can reveal it and add it to your hand. So it is a draw, but I think it's really difficult to justify finding the space for this. And you've got to be playing a lot of military. If you're playing like 40 to 45 military cards, sure, this is probably worth it. But the military decks I've been seeing tend not to. And there's a lot of very valuable ways to fill that space, and I don't think this is one of them. One of the best vanillas in the game, maybe the best vanilla in the game. 352 is nuts. This is insane, and it's military traded. Just good, just so good. Then we have got this zombie with overdrive or touchdown to get a charge. The charge is essentially just for Zombie Caesar at the moment. I do think we'll see some zombie support in set 3, by the way. But other than that, it's just a slightly worse vanilla. I think it's worth the hit to that small hit to attack in exchange for that synergy with Zombie Caesar. It's quite a nice card. Yeah, not bad. Dynamite Zombie, super important part of zombies doing what they do. You definitely want this card. It's really annoying for the opponent to deal with. Like in a fully built zombies deck, like a good one that's working quite well, Dynamite Zombies are a pretty important piece of that. So yeah, very strong card, and a really important thing to kind of just keep in mind, because it's the counter to deal 2 damage to something can get buffed up by Guns and Gold, but more importantly, this is something that you can have on the field. You can call it to center, to defensive zone, and it's going to be really annoying for your opponent to deal with, because they're always going to have to factor in, what if you have some removal that's just going to let me essentially, like, it's just going to let you remove one of my things that I really don't want you to, and just plus. So it's a nice card in general, but particularly good in zombies. Cheerleader Zombie is really nice just for buffing up your stats and making you quite annoying to deal with. So a solid card. Mutated Goblin. This is just a vanilla, but I think it's really nice in alpha, giving you that aggro, and being a level 0 means you can revive it with Hades, and a level 1 or less means you can heal it out with Whales. Then we've got Zombie Scientist. This effect is Biohazard. All units on the field get the zombie attribute. This is interesting. It seems more like this was kind of intended for the starter deck use, though, rather than like a full zombie kind of thing. Because this will let you convert a lot of the military cards into things you can use with, for example, your zombie cannon. Zombie Apocalypse. This is really nice. It's a very powerful counter. It's just going to manufacture you a board. It doesn't really get much better than that in terms of just sheer value. As long as you basically get some good value in the discard, this is just going to go boop, new board, and your opponent might hate that. It's quite good, and it lets you maintain hand advantage. It doesn't take up any of your summon cap if you're playing in the energy based deck, so quite nice. Yeah. New Tech Lab. This is significantly worse because it does still special summon 2, but the level cap is now 1 or less, so it's going to be a 1 or a 0 or 2 zeros, whereas before you could do 2 1s or 2 and a 0 or 2 zeros. It's a lot more flexible for only a 1 level difference. This doesn't take up counter, so it is nice, of course, to just be able to get them back, and it is kind of important to be able to do that, especially like in the budget version in the starter deck. So yeah, solid card. War Merit Investigation. These are some of the more interesting ones. This sort of medal engine. So here the counter is to play it, and you choose one medal event in your damage zone from your and set it. So obviously the way this is meant to work is you get the medals. The medals get something out of the damage zone, put themselves in, and then you use this to heal out the medals. So I understand how that works. I'm not a massive fan of most of this. I think the support really isn't there. Perhaps if we get some more better medals or some more synergy around it. Personally, I don't think it's super good. So yeah, not overly fond. Zombarrier, this is really nice. Basically, you're gonna always go Zombarrier, Dynamite Zombie dies, do a little bit of burn, and that's quite nice. But I do think zombies. I just think they're they're okay. I need to test them more because I'm not seeing the top deck potential, the top tier potential at the moment. But I'll find it. Next, we've got Medal of Honor. This is one of the 2 other medals in the starter deck. So military traded is of course nice. Counter is to set it. Use timing is set it, and you may play it when your military deals damage to your opponent. So fairly easy condition to meet. Choose one level 1 or lower military unit in your damage zone. Special summon it, then put it in your damage zone. So this is actually really nice because it's going to let you extend your aggro potential, which is really good. Of course, the downside is it's a level 1. You're typically going to be using this in an energy-based deck, so it's a little expensive in that sense. And you don't heal. You're putting something back, so I don't know how good that is. Next, we've got Silver Star. Use timing is to set this, and you may play it if you destroy 2 or more enemy units during your turn. And you choose one level 2 or lower military card in your damage zone, add it to your hand, then put this in the damage zone. So again, very interesting, but it just seems a bit weak. There's so many counters in Atlas, as you'll have seen from this review, all good lord, almost 30 minutes of it. There's a lot of very strong counters in Atlas, and combined with Set 1, it's going to be very difficult to justify putting these cards in. I suppose the main thing that's kind of going for them is being military things. They're things you can add to your hand. They're things you can stack. Well, you could stack them anyway, but they're things you can add to your hand with Private, for example. So that is nice. And the final card is Zombie Cannon. This is a really important part of the zombie strategy. It's also military, which is nice. Counters to play it. Choose one of the following effects. Send one of your zombies to the graveyard to burn one to your opponent, or to burn 4 to a unit. So this is really powerful. Use this with a dynamite zombie, and suddenly it's a free Buster Arm, which is very solid. Can definitely screw with your opponent quite a lot. One of the strongest tools the zombies have. So yeah, very, very key part of zombies being good. The of course downside is you really want to draw these. You really, really want to have these in hand, because counter checking them can be kind of annoying if you don't have something to sack for it, or if it's not optimal to sack it at that moment. It can suck. But there we go. That is the big old Atlas review. If you found this useful, like the video, subscribe to the channel for more Gate Ruler videos. Over the next few days, you're going to be seeing, or over the next week and a bit, I suppose, because I'll be alternating these with the Vanguard Overdress Set 1 reviews as well. So you'll be seeing those coming out for the whole of Set 2. You can look forward to more deck profiles as well. I've got a few lined up, which may already be out as well, and the usual weekly review of tops. So if you're interested in all that, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell so you'll get notified. And if you want to pick up Gate Ruler, use my affiliate links, join my Discord server to talk about Vanguard and Gate Ruler, and I will see you guys in the next video. Cheers.